Hi friend, David here from Learn Stage Lighting, and in this video, this month here on the YouTube channel, we're going to talk about lighting for large spaces. This is going to be a lot of fun. Now, I realize that we have a plethora of people who watch this channel, and that's why previous to this, we had a series of videos on lighting for smaller spaces, check that here, and for mid-size spaces, which are definitely the most contested, where, different people have very different perspectives as to what mid-size means. But, we answered it more or less, but now we're going to talk about large venues, okay? And like anything, it is subjective, okay? Small, medium, large, these three venue sizes that we've been going over, they are subjective. And different people are going to see this differently. But the concepts are the same. When you move to the next size venue, when you've been playing small venues and you get to the medium venue, when you've been playing medium venues and you get to the large venue, there are some unique challenges and some unique and exciting possibilities that open up as you get to each type of space. Okay? And in this video, I want to talk about the large venue and what those challenges are, but also the great and really awesome opportunities that you have when lighting in a large venue. Not to be a downer, but the first thing that you probably think about when you think about lighting a large venue is you're going to need a lot of gear, okay? Especially if the stage is large and then the venue is also a large size. Simply put, to cover that space, you're going to need more lights and you're going to need brighter lights. So as an example, if you have a 20-foot stage, that's the width, 20 foot wide, say it's 15 feet deep in a medium-sized venue, you may be able to light that stage of 20 feet in 4 segments using 8 lights, right? Maybe you do a few less lights, a few more, but for the sake of the example, 8 lights will front light that stage, okay? If we move to a bigger venue, the same size stage now looks smaller. It doesn't look as big. And so you've got 2 options here, 2 opportunities, right? The first is you can keep your size of stage and it's just going to look small within the broader context of the room. Still, in this example, you have to figure out where you're hanging your lights. And you may take a light, maybe an LED par or an ellipsoidal, that was 20 feet away from the presenter in the medium-sized venue, okay? When you take that light, and instead of 20 feet away from the presenter, it's 60 feet away, you can change the lensing to get more brightness, but it's still not going to be as bright as a wider lens at a closer distance. Why? The inverse square law. It doesn't always make sense to me, and I'm not a mathematician. I'm actually really bad at math. But as lights get further away, you need more punch. And even if the lensing's tight, there's a little bit of inefficiency that gets lost there, and there's people much smarter than me that can explain the physics behind why that is. The other thing that you have is, even if you're using that same size stage and you're using the same amount of lights to light it, you actually, in a large venue, are going to generally need to light your stage brighter. Meaning that, say I'm standing here in front of this camera, and truth be told, on-camera lighting doesn't require super bright light. And so I'm here, I'm guessing I probably am around 40-foot candles, which is not a bad amount of light, okay? If you're an Android user, you can download the City Theatrical DMX Cat app, and there's a light meter built into the Android version that gets you, it's not perfect, but it gets you in the ballpark of how bright a space is. Okay, so I can hold that up here. I'm gonna guess that it's about 40-foot candles right here on me, okay? If I'm now viewing this area where I'm standing, this stage, from 200 feet away or longer, it looks really dim, okay? And so the further you get away from a stage, the brighter that stage needs to be in order to be seen well. Okay, these are the basic mechanics of the eye and how this stuff works. And so you need to keep that in mind when you're stepping up to a larger venue than you've used before. Make sure you've got enough to cover that stage. Make sure you've got the right lensing to make it bright enough, and make sure you've got enough fixtures to make sure you're covered and bright enough so that even if somebody's in the back of the room, it doesn't look super dim. This is really key. Okay, those are the bare bones, things that are really the gotchas when coming to a larger venue. Now let's talk about the opportunities. When you're in a larger venue, say for an example, you take somebody, maybe they're a singer-songwriter, maybe they're a band, maybe they're a preacher, and they're used to, or a motivational speaker, just so we can use ticket costs as our example. You're used to playing 500 to 1,000 seat rooms, okay? So for that 40-foot wide stage, you would have whatever budget you get based on selling, 750 seats. Well, the big opportunity, of course, and when you're working in a larger venue, is you often can have more budget to work with, right? Though there are always going to be clients and always going to be people that say, oh, we go to this venue, it seats 1,000 people, we spend this much on lighting, we can go into a venue 10 times that size and spend the same amount. There are always going to be people who try to pull that on you. But there's always a moment to be real, to say, you know what, that's not reasonable, but we can be a little more efficient and we can often get more budget to spend on production in a larger venue because for the same amount of performers on stage, we've got, 10 times the seats, etc. Okay? And so working in a large venue, it really doesn't have to be scary. In fact, the biggest thing I see people running into when they're moving into a larger venue than they've worked into before is, like we talked about for the bulk of this video, they're not figuring out how far their throw distance is and finding an appropriate light for it. And so they get on site, they hang the light, they turn it on, and it's maybe the beam's too large and super dim, and it's just not the right fit, right? So that's the most important thing you really want to figure out when moving to a larger venue. But then, when you have the extra space of a larger venue, it allows you to do so much more exciting and interesting things with your lighting. And so over the next 3 videos, that's exactly what we're going to talk about, is how to make the most out of that space, how to take advantage over the width and height that you have to really be able to make that space rock. So let's hop into the visualizer for our next video. But for now, if you're new to lighting, head over to learnstagelighting.com, grab my free guide to begin with lighting, and we will see you guys in our next video. Thanks.